Do 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 do. Hey, now I got a copyright strike probably. Today we are building Star Wars, a movie that came out at some point. We have a Bandai kit here, Star Destroyer 1/5000 scale. A very big box for a kit that's not very big. This is the first production limited edition version, which is kind of silly because I just looked online real quick and apparently you can find this one still a year later, but the second edition one without the extra special parts, a quick glance, I couldn't find it. So that one's sold out. So great. What's the difference between the two? Well, we're going to go on about that in a moment. But as you can see, this box is enormous and I cannot show you everything because of the size. I even have the camera pulled back as far as I can. But it is a big box, but it's not a big kit. The kit is actually only 12 inches long. So if you were thinking you were getting a Star Destroyer the size of this box, you are wrong. That is the top of our Star Destroyer, and you can see it's, I think, a little over a foot, or about a foot long, 12 inches. And not too many parts. And there are some duplicates in here, probably. So the differences between the two, it's a little difficult figuring out what difference between the special first run and the regular run. One of the differences I know is this one has extra clear parts, which I'm assuming is this screw here. And frankly, I don't understand the point of it. Why would you need clear parts? The only time you would is if you were lighting it and you're going to mask off the windows. So you can mask off the windows and spray paint the whole thing. Like on, I forget who makes the Polo Lights, I think makes both. The DS9 for Star Trek and the one of the Enterprise kits, the D I think. But the scale on this is so tiny, there's no way you are going to mask off microscopically, 0.001 size windows with tape. So what's the point of having clear parts? Something I'm missing apparently. So you get that. I believe the original or the second run comes with lights as well. I could be wrong about that, but this is a lit kit and not with a whole bunch of fiber optics, just with a whole bunch of little LEDs and this rather massive LED pack, which is going to cause problems because I already did a little research on this kit. And the other thing you get is this little modeling guide to tell you how someone else built, not to this model, but the original model. So a lot of this is Japanese. Makes it a little hard. There is some translation here. I don't know if it's full translation or not, but this is the original studio model, and you can see all the fiber optics running everywhere, and shows you some other tools that you can use. I'm guessing, I haven't read this whole thing, and it does show, I believe, and no, I don't believe, because there is no translation on this part whatsoever. So I have no idea what's going on here. Maybe you can figure out at home. I believe this is someone who's upbuilding this sucker with photo etch and all sorts of neat little extras. Not photo etch, I'm sorry, fiber optic. But it's no good because I can't read it. So yeah, that's what I paid extra money for. Thank you, Bandai. Other than that, this kit doesn't have a huge number of parts. Hopefully we won't have any issues. It is Bandai, so their kits tend to be very rock solid in their build. I usually don't like building Star Wars Empire stuff because it's just so freaking boring. It's just, gray. Now this does have a little bit of Aztecing, which I'm going to try to do. Again, this is a very small kit relative to the original studio size, so we'll see what we can do about that. Also issues with the lights here. This has to be the original model because I guarantee you this kit does not have this many holes for lights on it or in it. And again, we'll see what we can do about that. See, there's that very nice Aztecing. Hopefully we can do something similar to that. And again, I know there's light leaks are an issue with this kit, and we'll see where we go from there. So easiest thing, let's start building and then we'll figure out where we stand. So I just started building. This is the first step technically it's step 3 because step 1 is putting together the battery pack and all the lights, and step 2 is building the base. So I just skipped forward to step 3. And a couple things I just noticed out of the gate here. Ran into the first problem, which is shocking for a Bandai kit. This piece that goes here is a little bit warped and didn't quite fit. There's nothing really holding it down, so unfortunately the only thing I had that would fit in there were my alligator clips, and so I had to glue that and make sure it sits flush where it's supposed to. Secondly, I just want to show you why the clear part thing, again, I don't understand, because now we can see the size of the windows that's on the inside and that's on the outside. So again, you know, how are you going to mask that off with clear parts? Makes no sense to me. Also, something else they gave you is masks. These aren't for painting. This is for light leaking. So you're supposed to take, in this case, this one right here, and on this piece here, you make a little house for it. You bend it over and you put it in place. I just thought that was adorable. It's a little sticker. I don't know if we'll be using that or not, but it made me smile. Let's keep building. So things are going pretty quickly so far building the kits. By the way, I am using glue. I usually like to use glue on the Bandai kits just so things don't work themselves loose as time goes on or as I keep working on the kit. Also, it's very important because light leak is going to be an issue here, so I want to make sure that everything's as flush as possible. So that's what we're doing here. The other thing is it is going quick, mainly because I'm not cleaning up the sprues because I can't see the damn ends of the sprues where I clip them off. This detail on here is so beautifully fine that you just can't see where to clip off the sprues, and I'm really afraid I'm going to clip off something I'm not supposed to. So good. Hopefully it's not going to be an issue. Now, lighting kit. This ugly ass monstrosity is our lighting kit, and it's quite ridiculous. If I was doing this myself, I'd be using a 2 AAAs at most probably and be able to build this thing like, you know, at least half this size. But this is our big ass lighting brick that it comes with, and this mess of wires. So 3 AAA batteries in here. This goes in the, oh bugger, I haven't unwrapped you yet. So this is supposed to sit in here eventually. So you do have to take it all apart if you want to turn it on. And that is the one of the most silliest things. Second most, well, a lot of silly going on here. There's 4 on switches. Only 2 of them work for the setup that they give you the wires for here, but to turn it on, you have one here for the engine, which thankfully they are cool, and then for the rest of the ship. And these are a bit warmer, but they're still not warm yellow, so I'll see, maybe we'll change those if we can. But yes, to turn this on, you have to take the kit apart and then take a shield off that goes on top of here. And then supposedly somewhere there's a tool that they give you so you can actually reach in there and flip both light switches on. Is that ridiculous or what? Just an update on the build. It's mostly going smoothly. Ran into a few problems that I want to mention. Seam lines have not been a real issue until I got to the, I don't know if this, let's call it the upper deck section. We are starting to see some problems. You can see that line going right down there and also along here and right along there. That's going to be a little obvious. The problem with this kit is all these super fine details. Obviously there's no way to go in there and fill that with putty, and once it's all washed, I'd like to say that it won't be an issue, but I think it will be. I have an idea of how to fill it. I want to mull on it some more. There's another obvious line right there. But hopefully we can do something about that. Second issue, the only error I found in the kit was on one of these bells, this one in the center here, and partially my own mistake here. You can see there's a little bit of a flat area. Normally when you cut pieces off sprue, you know, you have that little tiny connecting point. Well, here for some reason the tiny connecting point wasn't there, and instead I had a big block of styrene, which again, I did a terrible job of trying to cut off, because I had to cut it off and then sand it down. Hopefully, actually just doing like this, I can get a little more roundness to it. Third, stickers. Said it was kind of funny having the little stickers for having the blacked out areas. One thing they give you are these little round ones, which is kind of odd. They're used to cover sinkholes. Where did I have one? I had one here somewhere. Oh, I think I already used it. But anyway, it's to cover certain holes in the kits that they don't want lit. Well, I'll just show you this one here. Like these little holes here that you're supposed to cover with the sticker. And I am kind of worried about how it's a sticker. It's not going to last forever. So I just decided to fill it with paint. Putty would work as well, but just a quick drop of paint in some of these holes. I've used some of the other stickers. They have the reflective one to increase the lighting. I thought about adding my own aluminum tape along the sides. I don't think it's going to be necessary though, but I considered that sandwiching between these two pieces, because there's one here and then there's one on the bottom of the ship, and it acts as the channel for the lighting. So that's where we are at now. I'm trying to build the upper deck. Lower deck is pretty much done, and then we'll try to put it together and figure out all the lighting. It's been about 3 hours in total, and we are virtually done with the build portion of this kit. Most everything went together fairly well. The only issues were the ones I already pointed out, and I'm sure I'm just going to have to deal with some seam lines that I mentioned, and also light leak once this thing gets put down. But before I go on, I got to figure out the base. The base that this thing comes with is this ugly ass looking thing. It's literally two pieces, it's two squares that you stick together, and then it just supports the ship on these, so you can take it off and play with it in the bath or something. And yeah, it's ugly as hell. So need to stop so I could wire up my own base, and for that I'm trying to use what I have lying around, and I have these little ovals here, and they're just cheap little craft store, you know, ovals. It's a little too thin to use on its own, so what I'm going to do is double them up. We're going to glue these together and then just fill and sand, putty them up and fill and sand it down. And this should be good enough. Also, this is a really good shape for the kit, because this more organic oval shape, first of all, it signifies the length of the ship. You know, it's better than using a circle. However, the organic shape is also a little bit different from all the straight lines on the ship itself, so it's going to give it a nice little look, make it look a little special, I think. And what we're going to do is going to have to drill into this little hole right here, because that is pretty much, it's roughly the balance weight on the ship. So that's going to hold the ship fairly stable there. Also, I don't want to just have it flat like that. That's a little bit boring. So we are going to angle the ship up. I want it a little bit more like that, so it's easier to see the underside, you know, with the little, whatever that is, hanger. You know, just it's a bit more spicier rather than just having these straight lines. And hanging off the base is supposed to be the blockade runner and even the Millennium Falcon, and you're supposed to stick it on a big piece of plastic, and it looks terrible. So, but what is good here, the little grappler arm actually fits the blockade runner. It's in the hangar bay, so awesome. So I just have to trim down the mounting peg there, and we are going to put the blockade runner there. And again, because we're going to have it at an angle, you're going to be able to see that. It also comes with a little Millennium Falcon, which I considered adding to the back here to combine the two different movies, but don't think I'm going to do that. I kind of already built a giant size version of that anyway, many moons ago. So that's where we stand right now. Let's let's start drilling and putting that stand. And there is our finished Star Destroyer. You can destroy it very easily. Decided not to put it all together. We're gonna paint this in sub-assemblies, mainly because of my new base that I decided to make for it, because I don't want to mount it and then have to deal with the base moving around while I'm trying to get around and paint it. Because this thing's gonna be fairly heavy once we get the battery light pack in. And that's gonna put a lot of stress on the base joint, which is what I want to show you. So we drilled a hole right in that little dome there. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is a 5/32 brass tube, not a rod, but a tube. And tubes are usually better because they don't flex like rods do. So it's very stiff. And it has a few other benefits we will see in a moment. This is a little bit long at the moment. I still need to trim it down a bit more, but we're gonna mount this sucker like this. So all I did was just drill a hole into the base for the rod. Thank God I got it straight on the first try. So when everything is eventually done and we are putting it all together, we're going to take this tube and crimp it so it has something to catch on. We don't want to leave a straight tube here because it's very prone to breaking once we glue it in and turning. So that's the one downside of having a rounded mounting peg. And what I did is just put little pieces of scrap styrene here, and what that's going to do, once we glue the rod into place, I'm going to pack it down with some epoxy putty. And the epoxy putty doesn't stick that great to plastic, so this is going to give it a little bit of grip. So we're going to put that in, kink the tube at the end, putty all around. I can't go as high with the tube as I would like because of the battery pack, though because we're angling it slightly I can get it a wee bit higher, but it's going to go something just like that. So I think all we have to do is a little bit of filling, and then we can move on to paint. Last thing I can do before we get to the painting is take care of the seam lines. Now the problem here is that all this little detail here is just not enough room to put in putty and realistically get in there and try to sand it down. So we're going to use liquid putty. We got Mr. Surfacer, not 500, I'm using 1000. And our tool for this evening is a toothpick, which is my favorite tool for applying this stuff because you can apply it in very small drops. And this stuff is really nice because it levels wonderfully. And the 1000 it's like sandpaper, so the 500 is thicker than the 1000. And some of these, like larger gaps here, I really should use 500. Actually, this spot I don't even need to fill because it's actually under the hull, but good example right there. That was the biggest one I had. And I'm not going to fill everything here because I don't think you're going to be able to see most of them, but I know this one back here. Actually, I don't want to fill that one. The other side here, I should have used this one for the video. I was playing on this side, but I already filled a little bit there. But this stuff dries very, very fast, levels, can be sanded, so it's pretty nice for a very delicate project like this. And again, not too many seam lines to fill. It went together mostly okay. So I think we're going to be moving on to the painting next.
Oh, sweet information superhighway! What gem bring you me from the far reaches of cyberspace?